It's agony for England once again, but Spain have been crowned champions for a record 4th time. And over the duration of the tournament, it's probably deserved. Diddy, there's no doubt about it, the shackles came off right from the start of that second half. A much improved performance by both sides in fairness, but Spain deserved victors.
Absolutely. Brilliant second half, made up for the dire first half. End-to-end stuff, goal-scoring opportunities. England coming back again. The Palmer shot actually takes a slight deflection of Lenormand. I think Simon would have saved it otherwise, but they did come back and then got hit a few minutes before the end of the game, but I think we saw the deserved winner. Spain being the best team over the 7 games, and I don't think anybody can argue. De La Fuente's done a brilliant job. He just let them go, let them loose, and I think he also he's so cool. He stands on the touchline, and I think he gives these players, we see Williams here, the freedom to just express themselves. And you look at England, they don't play football, they work football. And again, he's made the changes when they were 1-0 down. Scored straight after, Watkins with another chance. But I think this team had so much more in the locker. We've hardly seen Anthony Gordon. We hardly seen Eze. We haven't seen enough of Watkins. Kane shouldn't have played. He was a disaster for the 7 games from start to finish, even though he scored 2 goals. And looking back now, obviously you don't want to be too harsh because they've been to 2 finals. But the thing is, the winner takes it all. And you asked the question before, they've been to the 2nd final, more finals than anybody else.
Yeah.
Most successful manager. I don't think it's enough because they had a squad, or they went to the tournament again like they did 3 years ago, with the best squad or with one of the best squads. Again, they come up short. I don't think over the course of the 7 games or the last few years, it's not been enough.
Richie, do you think the potential of this squad hasn't been realised, and does the responsibility lie firmly at the door of the manager?
Well, I think if you stick to this tournament for a moment, like, we're looking at a team, we're obviously devastated tonight. They'll be bitterly disappointed, the 2nd final defeat in a row. But it was a team that was booed off quite a few times by their own supporters and received a huge amount of criticism consistently from the media. And the fans and the players all came out and said, we need to do more, we have to do better, and we will do better. Tonight's result was a just result. It was a fair outcome. You don't always get what you deserve in football, but Spain deserved to win and England didn't. The tournament was 7 games long. I know you can turn it on in a final and you can win a game you don't deserve, but the second half performance by Spain, they showed their superiority. The second half performance by England, they showed their limitations.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out that the better team in a tournament wins, but on this occasion it has done, and the better team on the night has won as well.
Yeah, I think over the course of the tournament, you're looking at the deserved winners, and they're obviously celebrating in front of their fans there, Peter. And they were a joy to watch from start to finish. They really were, and as the lads rightly said, and even the lads on commentary, the best team in the tournament won it. There was a point in the second half, I think Pickford made a couple of saves. Obviously then Palmer got the goal back, and you think, do you know what, England could have their name on this trophy because it sort of was going their way. But if you look at the course over the chances second half, what team wanted? They wanted the most. Again, Southgate made changes maybe late on, and you're right about Kane, doesn't look fit.
Yeah.
There's lots of questions, I think, now after. I know it's after the thing we say, if England won, you take Gareth Southgate, he gets knighted, gets a new contract. They don't lose just 1 game. And does that mean he gets sacked tomorrow? I don't know. But the big question is, 58 years, going to be 60 years before they win the next trophy. And you see the crop of players, you look at the subs England have, you see the strength and depth they have. They should have won a trophy within the last 60 years. That's
plenty of potential starter right across Spain at the moment. They're celebrating. And I was just thinking, Diddy, of the great Spanish side that won 3 championships between 2008 and 2012. 2 European Championships and a World Cup. What's the potential with this current Spanish side? And just before you answer that question, we had a disappointing first half from Yamal and Williams, who've been their key men throughout the tournament, but they showed up in the second half.
Yeah, they did, and they obviously made that first goal. I think they've got a long way to go compared. Obviously, it's a great achievement with a pretty young side to win the European Championship. But if you look, they were world-class players in their own right. These guys, 8, 10, 12. I'm not saying they can't, but I think...
Is the foundation there, though?
Yeah, obviously they've got young players. Rodri coming off at half-time as well. He gives them an awful lot of confidence. Supermendy did well. Oyarzabal comes on, scores a winner. The question is, when they play the South American teams, are they defensively solid enough? obviously that's a question they will answer in 2 years' time. But that team, I think they've got a long way to go to emulate what these guys did 15 years ago.
Yeah, well, they certainly had world-class players all over the pitch, including at the back. But they had to beat the best in Europe to win this championship. They came through the hard way in terms of the knockout rounds, Shay. So, it's a richly deserved championship for them, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose what you could say is they've played with the freedom, I think, every single game. They never really seemed to panic. Yeah, the first half today and the whole final was probably the worst half of the whole tournament. Whatever the manager said at half-time, it seemed to take the leash off again in the second half, and they played with the freedom. They created chances and got the winning goal.
This was it. It was 5 minutes from the end, perfectly timed. But at this point here, you think, is Walker going to stop the cross? He can't. And it's a perfect run across the front by Oyarzabal, and Pickford can't do anything about it. We did have a few moments. We were waiting for the notification from whether VAR would have a look at it. The graphic has come up and said no. John Stones' right knee, I think, is what keeps him onside. But it's a deserved goal by a team that were better. Like, there'd be loads of discussion here about what Southgate should or shouldn't have done, or what England players could or couldn't have done. But tonight they were beaten by a superior team, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah. I think, Diddy, you were a little bit critical of Cucurella during that second half, but that was a magnificent ball.
Brilliant. Absolutely sensational.
Do you think he's one of the weak links in the team at the moment, though?
I think on Cucurella, I think defensively still a worry for me, but offensively getting forward, Chelsea decent going forward as well.
Yeah.
And you say, Peter, it's a brilliant ball for the goal, but still, I would still question some of his defensive stuff.
Yeah, and I thought Walker was favoured to get the ball because it looked like the ball is a bit short coming to him. Maybe he's got to go to ground. I'm not sure. Maybe he thought he gets there or he can block the cross. He obviously didn't, but what a ball. Absolutely sensational, and easiest to finish is for Oyarzabal.
Yeah, you mentioned during the first half, or during the half-time break, that England were probably happy enough to sit back and absorb the pressure, allow Spain have possession. But have they paid the price for that approach now?
I'm not sure. I think the first half they did as well as they could have done because they stifled Spain. Spain didn't have a goal-scoring opportunity. And obviously that's how they play. They're very destructive, England. But I think they've got the players to play a different football. And I think over the course of the tournament, they got found out because it just didn't play well enough, even though they had the players. And the thing is, people talk about character and mentality. Of course they showed that because they came back in all 4 games now in the knockout stages. But mentality only takes you that far. And when you see the players they've got on the bench, there's another Jarrod Bowen, I think he came on in one of the first games, set up a brilliant chance for Harry Kane. He's not been seen since. I just think so much more would have been possible, and I think the manager, now you can say, oh, he's been to a final, it's been great. I think the manager gets quite a bit of stick from certain parts of the press and the media, and I think rightly so.
Richie, there seems to be a great reluctance within the FA to make a change, but the result of tonight's final, do you think it will have, cause them to rethink the situation with regards to their manager? Because there aren't any hugely obvious candidates for that job at the moment.
At 5 to 8, before kick-off, everyone would acknowledge Gareth Southgate is in touching distance of a knighthood. He could very soon be Sir Gareth. And now it's 5 to 10, or a little after 10, and the discussion now is turned to this fella needs to be cast aside. With England, the reaction is always extreme. They're over the top with the criticism, they can be over the top with the praise. But I think no is the straight question. I don't think it's time for the FA to sit down and say Southgate has to be sacked. He's not the fundamental problem. He's not the...
What is the
The question is, if you want to see progress, do you think if any of these fans who watch them Euros, do you think they want to see Kane up top again? And if he stays in charge, the first game is actually here, I think in the Aviva in 2 or 3 months' time. Do you know who'll play centre forward? It'll be Harry Kane. And the punters don't want to see it no more.
No surprise that Lamine Yamal has been chosen as the young player of the tournament. The first of a couple of significant awards he's going to receive tonight, because of course he's also going to get a winner's medal. Shay, what's your view on how the FA might view things now after the defeat?
I'm not even sure if Southgate wants to stay in the job, if I'm being honest, because the recent contract he signed, he was supposedly talked into staying 2 years longer to do the Euros. So I don't think Southgate will be around for the World Cup. I really don't. I think he'll walk away after this. And again, the problem with Southgate and the problem he's had for the tenure is He's a defender by trade, by nature. So mentally, he wants to set up solidly, nice and defensive, not give too many chances away, be really solid, and then a few players on the counter-attack. But this squad was not built for that, Peter. They've got such exciting players in attacking positions. But the England fans tonight will be scratching their head thinking, we never really lay a glove. I know that Palmer got a really good goal, but apart from the goal, they never really lay a glove in Spain. And with all them players, and especially with the bench for the whole tournament, I don't think you've seen the best of England. And whoever does come in, I think there'll definitely be a change. Whoever does come in needs to be more offensive, needs to be more, I suppose, like the Spanish manager. No, it doesn't matter what happens in the game, we'll keep playing open, flowing football, attacking football, creating chances, playing on the front foot, playing the opposition's half. But you don't see that under Southgate.
No. And there will be ongoing discussion, needless to say, on all platforms as to Gareth Southgate's future, but it is up to the FA to decide. In fact, he may decide himself, but probably not immediately. His contract runs till the end of the year, so no major pressure on the manager. But there will be lots of discussion about it. On the other side of the coin, you have Luis de la Fuente, who's done such a magnificent job with the Spanish side, having replaced Luis Enrique. And this is reward for his belief, I suppose, Diddy, in the younger players and bringing the likes of Ruiz back into the squad. He's been rewarded now with a European Championship.
Well, if you trust players, if you give them responsibility, they pay you back. And I think that sometimes we've seen they play with a smile on their face. They lose the ball, nobody cares. The manager doesn't care. Try it again, because the forward players, I don't think you can give him too many instructions, because it's all intuition, it's instinct. And this is what I'm missing, that freedom, that they just express themselves, just doing things, trying things. You don't see this with England, and they certainly have the players to do that. And yeah, what a brilliant job he's done. He's worked with a lot of these players in the 21s. De La Fuente comes across, always finds the right words. He was asked about that booing of Cucurella in the semi-final. He said, "I know Germany's been a great host. It's only a few idiots who booed." And the dignity he showed and the respect he showed towards the opponents, the people in Germany, I think he's been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, what a brilliant choice he's been.
Yeah.
And to go there with a young team and to win it the way they did, because Richie said it, they well deserved it. They were by far the best team. There were some brilliant teams in the tournament, probably 2 or 3 teams with better squads than Spain, but they just steamrolled every opponent.
I think it's actually good for the tournament that this Spanish team are the ones winning it. Because if the England team were to win it, having played so below par for so long, and so games that were completely forgettable, like the highlights reel of the England 7 games would last probably a minute, and half of that would be replays. There was so little that they did of high quality. Spain deserved this.
The start of the second half surprised us really, because the first half hadn't been too entertaining, but they flew out of the blocks and got a deserved lead very quickly.
Well, we spoke about Shaw and Yamal, didn't we, before the game? We spoke about him half-time, and this is just straight after the half-time. I think Shaw makes the wrong decision. If you see here on the right-hand side of the screen, he gets sucked to Carvajal, but he should drop back a few yards and stay with Yamal. Now, Yamal, you know how good he is cutting inside. Walker gets attracted to Olmo, and then there's a massive gap opens up for Williams on the far side. It's a brilliant finish. It's a well-worked goal from Spain, of course, but just them couple of little mistakes along the way there from England. I mean, Walker has to go with Olmo at that point, but Williams, you know, the pace on the other side. It's a brilliant team goal, Peter, it really is, and it's a fantastic finish from Williams on the left side.
Because that was just after half-time, obviously, and we saw that Rodri didn't reappear after the first half, and we all sat here, I'm sure everyone at home did, thinking Rodri is a huge loss in that area of the park, because we saw him get the award there afterwards, but he was a huge loss, and what a way to respond.
Yeah, and a great start of the half for Yamal, because we pondered during that first half while it was on that was the occasion getting to such a young player, 17 years of age, first major final, but he proved in the second half that it didn't.
Yeah, well, it was hard because Shaw did ever so well after obviously missing 4 or 4.5 months having a first start. But when you play against a team that's sitting back when they've got 10 players within the last 25, 30 yards, it's very hard, because obviously you get the ball out wide, 20 yards from goal on the touchline, you come inside, you run into 3 England players, you go wide. Shaw's got a bit of pace as well. It's very hard to beat a player out there. So, you know, I will probably excuse him for that first half. He tried, but they just couldn't break him down. I don't think it was his fault, but he made up for it in the second half.
Yeah, he certainly did. But what about the equaliser? I mean, you always felt that Cole Palmer should be starting in this English team. Every time he has come on, he has impacted the game, which is what a manager wants, and he did it once again.
Yeah, then again, that doesn't mean he can't do it from the start. And obviously it's a throw here, and then Cucurella, he's steaming out. If you see the counter, Bellingham plays the ball. Look how open they are. Then obviously there's acres of space here for Saka. Laporte has to cover. And then it's brilliantly worked goal because Saka plays in the middle. Bellingham lays it off. Excellent ball. And he plays it back so Palmer can hit it first time. And it's a very mature and just a very calm finish. Just passing it into that far post. There's still 3 or 4 red shirts where he has to get it through. In the last replay, we see the slight nick of Lenormand. Here we see it now. Here's a nick. I think if he doesn't deflect it, the keeper's probably got it covered. But a well-worked goal, and yeah, probably not really deserved at the time because they had a chance through Olmo to make it 2-0. Yeah. But this is their comeback qualities we've seen so often in this tournament.
Yeah, and for a time after that, Richie, it looked as though England might even go on and win it because they had a couple of attacks after that. But then, did they begin to tire because there were suggestions here on the studio floor that maybe they were looking a bit leg-weary again?
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that was a theme of the second half, which is why we kept an eye so closely on the substitutions and what changes the manager would make. But I think the longer that second half went on, like the chances created by Spain compared to those by England, the gap was starting to appear. The gap in possession was there from the first 10 minutes, and I don't think England really recovered. But Spain looked more dangerous. They looked a much wider variety of attacking threats. When they got it, they were entertaining and exciting to watch, and you think, here's the goal, someone's going to score, and they got a hatful of chances. I didn't feel that watching England. They had a spurt of energy, and they came out and they did what they have been doing. Like they came up with a big moment, slightly against the run of the play to keep them in it, but it wasn't enough.
No, and it was a beautifully fluid attack that actually led to what turned out to be the winning goal.
It was, yeah. I mean, a fluid attack is something the Spanish team can do when they're on form. Keep an eye on Cucurella here at the top of the screen. We're seeing this replay several times. We're all wondering, could Kyle Walker have done something more here? He goes out to close down Cucurella here. Could he have just should he have blocked the cross? Could he have done so? Was he afraid of conceding a free kick if he really fully committed to it? And the line there, it's the tightest of angles. It's the most marginal of calls. The technology steps in to clear it up. It's Stones' knee. Stones was excellent tonight. He was brilliant. He's had a really, really good tournament. So it's unfortunate that he's the culprit, but it's a deserved goal. Do you know what I mean? It's the right team won. They from the moment we saw them in their opening games, go back to the quality of opposition they had in the groups. Their group was the most difficult, but in the group stage they were the most impressive. The rounds in the knockout stages were the most difficult. Every challenge any team has put up against them, and they've played all the best teams, they were good enough.
I will question that substitution. He's bringing Cole Palmer on, which probably should have been done earlier. So who's going to come off? He's taking Mainu off, who was probably the best player, England player, with Stones and maybe Gahey for the first 60 minutes. I think he's done brilliant in the first half, done okay in the second half. Now, in taking Mainu off, obviously you leave these spaces open because he moves Bellingham back, and Bellingham, we all know, he doesn't really want to defend. Now, why does he take Mainu off when he's bringing Cole Palmer? He's got Saka, he's got Foden, and he's got Bellingham. It's the easy option. And
Who do you think he should have brought off, did he?
Well, any of the three. Yeah. Any of the three. He took Foden off then in the last minute to bring Tony on, but any of the three. The last person out of that midfield I would have taken off would have been Mainu. Because, again, I know there's a fine line between loyalty and making daft decisions. And I think in taking Mainu off, he would have been the last one I would have taken off because he gives you defensive stability. He's a young kid, great energy, legs. You know, he can last 90 minutes, 120 minutes. So he's got 3 players. Foden did okay. Bellingham hardly been seen. Saka did okay. So I would probably have taken Bellingham off. But any of the 3 really, but the last one I would have taken off would have been Mainu.
So has Southgate's loyalty, do you think, cost him to a point, Shay? Because I think it was quite evident for everybody looking at the game that a number of those players, I suppose they're box office players in many ways, players that he's been loyal to, they weren't having a good match.
No. I mean, Bellingham obviously had an unbelievable season with Real Madrid, isn't he? A club form, but we've seen probably one bit of magic was the overhead kick against Slovakia. That was a brilliant goal, but individually, that's about it. He's done the whole thing. Kane doesn't look himself at all. I mean, when Southgate picked the squad for this tournament, you thought, do you know what? He's left Maddison at home, he's left Grealish, he's left Maguire. I know he's an injury risk, but he's actually brought in these younger players, and you know what, he might freshen it all up, he might give them the opportunity to play. But maybe by leaving the likes of Grealish at home and Maddison, he's like thinking, well, they're not going to upset me, these young players on the bench. They'll be happy enough to sit there where I can play the likes of Kane and Bellingham and not upset the apple cart, these experienced players. But if you want to be a top manager and you want to win trophies, which of course the England manager does, then you have to make big calls. I mean, Harry Kane, I know he scored 3 goals, but he looked miles off it, he really did. And if you had a starter with Watkins or even Ivan Toney, you know, they're looking around thinking, well, he's not moving well, why aren't I getting a start?
Do you think Richie's the sort of manager that is inclined to avoid confrontation as he would see it and sort of takes the least path of resistance?
No, I think on his squad selection, I think he did make big calls. He left out Grealish, he left out Rashford, he left out Henderson.
But was leaving Grealish out a big call, really, because he had a poor season by his previous standards?
Yeah, but I think it's a fair call. I think it was the correct call.
Yeah.
He looked at a £100 million player and said, I know you have a huge name, big reputation, you're English terms a superstar, but you haven't been playing, you're staying at home. I think that's a big call. I think his selection, I don't think it's just about blind loyalty. I don't think he looks at his team and I think I've no footballing reasons to pick you a lot, but I like you and I've picked you before, so I'll pick you again. I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he genuinely believes that that's the most solid, structured team that meets his version of how this team should play and can play. And go back to 2.5 hours ago, they were walking out to a final, their second Euros final in a row. So the choices are vindicated. His approach in one way, you can turn around and go,
but are the
He's got us
choices
to a
vindicated when most would agree that he had probably the best squad in the entire tournament at his disposal, even better than Spain?
yeah.
His reluctance.
I'm
Kane
fine myself.
cost him.
I agree with lots of what's being said, but because nobody at all is giving an ounce of balance, I find myself overly giving the alternative viewpoint. I agree. There's a tendency to play players where you think, Kane has shown you enough, take him off. Bellingham looks knackered. To mind his reputation, take him off. But in Southgate's mind, I don't think he's sitting there going, I can't take him off because the player will think less of me, or the player will upset the atmosphere in the dressing room. I just think he thinks, like the Slovakia game, if I keep him on, they're players that can deliver big moments.
Which that's quite naive, though, pinning your hopes on
really
the
good players who've dribbled them. That's management.
Yeah.
That's management.
Yeah, but it didn't bring him a trophy, and the football was atrocious. Out of the 10 worst games in the tournament, England was responsible for 7. Yeah?
6.
And
the Netherlands game was okay.
Netherlands the first half. And the thing is, you see that Kane, why he's not moving, I do not know. But I don't care, it's not my problem. They've got a doctor there, and physios. Yeah. Now, they've been behind in all the games, in the knockout games, including today. In 4 games, they've been behind. Now, if you had played Watkins, who we've seen, there was a through ball from Bellingham where he miscontrols it, all of a sudden it's dangerous. Palmer comes on, he scores after 5 minutes. Now, imagine if this team goes ahead in one of the games. Imagine playing with Foden, you bring Eze on, you bring Gordon on. You know, if this team is ahead, they won't be packed back. They won't be packed back because they've got players on the bench, 2 or 3 with ultimate pace. You bring these players on and they will run riot. They never had the chance to show it because he insisted on starting with Bellingham, with Kane, with the same players who didn't perform on every game they played. They didn't perform. So they've never been given a chance to go ahead in a game in the knockout stages because he's picked these players. Yeah, and if they had gone ahead, I don't think there would have been too many teams in the tournament who come back against England because the pace they've got, probably apart from France, no other team has.
Shay, you were smiling there when Diddy said that the football from England was
I knew what was
atrocious.
coming, that's all.
but would you agree with Diddy's
Yeah,
point?
I mean, it's very difficult. Again, I live in England, so I know what the media can be like. They can be cruel. And in a sense that maybe Southgate's sort of happy or protecting, like just getting there or just about getting to the final, and they look at his success, the first final in foreign soil, you know, hear all these different things, back-to-back Euro finals. They're trying to pick all the positives. But at the same time, I just feel like the fans in England be looking at the squad of players they have. And Richie mentions a few players I forgot about, Rashford and Sterling and all these other players.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's because the manager doesn't want these big name players on the bench because they'll be going, I should be playing, get me on the pitch. So it's easier to leave the younger ones on, inexperienced ones. Well, you're not going to play. because these are my blue chip brigade or whatever.
Well, even Watkins was complaining that he should have been on earlier.
Well, Watkins came on, he was pressing the goalkeeper, sprinting to the centre half, and it was rushing Spain into clearing the ball up the pitch. Harry Kane's press was a jog. They were just passing through. It was non-existent, you know. So, look, I don't know where England go from here. It's just frustrating because it's. I think they could have played a lot better. The Dutch first half, they were brilliant, and England fans are going, oh my goodness, if we can play like that in the final, we've got a great chance. But again, the final, they've been disappointing.
Okay, well, we just got to get back to the Spanish because we have more action to look from the second half. And Richie mentioned it, Spain did create the lion's share of chances during that second half.
Yeah, definitely. And when we look at the chances, I thought, you know, going back to England, they might have a chance to win it because Pickford made some good saves. You know, they created some good chances. This is Williams again, who's probably, you know, one of the star players of the thing. This is Olmo. He's just snatched on his left foot. We've seen him score obviously in this tournament a couple of times. He's better with his right foot. But again, these spaces started to appear. And Didi might be right. When Menu went off, there was more spaces in midfield and played into the Spanish strength really. But again, they look so good in the eye. Again, I think this comes a wee bit from the manager, Didi. Like offensively, letting bodies go forward, not too worried about the defensive side of things. Brilliant save from Pickford there. And then again, when these moments happen, Peter, you think, you know, they've got a chance. England. They're digging in. They're digging deep. But again, that's Yamal, another good save from Pickford. But again, the manager, I think, gives them that freedom. It's not like, well, what happens if this breaks down? They're going to break on us. It's no, we'll create another chance. We'll get on the front foot. Yeah. We'll let them worry about us.
And Nico Williams, he had a difficult time in the first half, particularly against John Stones and Kyle Walker, but he turned it on in the second half too for Spain.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful talent. This is it takes on Stones. It's a piece of. Sometimes you have to take your. You put your hand up and say it was a brilliant defending by Stones here. Gael Morata's got to do better here. This is a brilliant ball into Olmo. This is shortly after they went 1-0 ahead to make it 2. Look at this for a shot, and everything he does is just there's invention, there's guile, you always think there's something happening. And I think the English got players who are similar, capable of doing what he did. But for some reason they just don't do it, and this is just brilliant. Look at this for a piece of play here. Look at this. This is just wonderful. This is pure football, and I think the English are capable of doing it, but they just didn't do it enough. And the finish here, Shea said it before, that's an excellent finish because the ball is bouncing. It's not an easy ball to keep low, and he hits it into the ground. Right next to the post. It's a wonderful finish.
Yeah, they had some anxious moments though, Richie, towards the end, and but for I think it was Danny Olmo who got back on the line. England went very close to getting an equaliser.
They did, yeah. It was a set piece. I think there was 3 headers in a row. Rice, first of all, saved. Follow-up header. Olmo clears it off the line, and then it goes over the crossbar. But set pieces, traditionally, England have been really good in tournaments, particularly under Southgate, but brilliant reaction defending there from Olmo positionally to clear it off the line.
I love Simon's reaction as well. Peter, the goalkeeper. I mean, maybe he could catch it himself, but you can see after he's cleared off the line, they're celebrating. It's like a goal, isn't it? When you save it in the last second like that, it's as close you'll get to celebrating the goal. And I love the reaction. The team are all together.
But there's so many qualities in that Spanish. And every England game we talk about England, so just forget England for a moment. We talked about the character and the mental strength of the English team. Spain have it too. Like Rodri went out at half-time, played without him second half. They lost Pedri early on in the Germany game, beat Germany and France without him. Gavi, who would play normally, he's gone too. They late equaliser against Germany, came back and beat them in extra time. Went a goal down against France, came back and beat them in the semis. That's all the things we've been saying about England. Yeah. Ability to come up at big moments.
Well, in fairness,
when
the
you're under
plaudits
pressure.
have been delivered for Spain as well.
Exactly, yeah. And the football and the quality. And you look at the age profile of some of their players and the ones I just named that are missing. That team could be a threat for several more tournaments.
Yeah, it certainly could.